This video is sponsored by Movo.
What is the best beginner YouTube camera of the year? It's definitely gonna come down to these three options. You have the Sony ZV-E10 versus the Nikon Z30 versus the Canon R10. All three of these cameras right off the bat are great for beginners, and each camera brand actually created these cameras for content creators, and they have a ton of similarities. And so I just wanna jump through the similarities first, and then we'll talk about the differences, which is actually gonna distinguish which one you'll buy for the use cases that you plan on using it for. All three of these cameras shoot 4K video up to 30 frames per second, except the Canon R10 because it actually shoots 4K at 60 frames a second, which is awesome that it actually does that. So if you wanna do slow motion and get 4K footage, that's cool. However, it's key to note that when you tap into 4K 60, there's a 1.5 crop. And so many people may find that 4K 60 out of this camera might not be all that useful. All three of these cameras are crop censored interchangeable lens cameras, meaning you could change out the lens, or you can buy the camera without a lens and get the lens you want. In this video, I'll be doing a lot of talking through and examples with the kit lens itself, because most people are just gonna buy the kit lens. It's important to note though, that at the time of shooting this video, the Canon R10 has the least amount of lenses to choose from, with the Sony having a plethora of lenses to choose from, and the Nikon also not having all that many lenses to choose from. However, all three of these cameras produce a great image straight out of the camera. So when you put them side by side, it really is kind of like hard to choose which one you like best. They all have mic jack input, so you could plug in an external mic so you can get better sounding audio. They all have clean HDMI feeds, meaning you can plug an HDMI cable and then plug this into a computer and use it to live stream. All three of these cameras have a very small form factor, with the ZV-E10 being the absolute smallest. They all have a full articulating flip out screen, which is perfect for filming yourself so you can see yourself while you film, and they all are touchscreen, so you can also tap to focus on things like your face, which is super nice. These all have great eye autofocus, so you never have to worry about not being in focus when you have the camera pointing at your face, which is awesome. All three of these cameras come in at under $1,000, making it really competitive and hard to choose, with the Sony ZV-E10 being priced at $798 here in the US, the Nikon Z30 priced at $796, and then the Canon R10 coming in at just under $1,000, and those prices are with the kit lens, and you could totally save by just buying the bodies only. I'll be sure to post links down in the description below so you can get the most updated pricing. And just a little hack, if you actually buy a used camera on Amazon, they actually back it up with their warranty, so you never have to worry saving money buying a used camera on Amazon, because you're gonna be good if anything were to go wrong. So definitely be sure to check out the used deals that Amazon offers.
You gotta just press record.
Hey, what's up? It's Omar with Think Media, and this channel is all about helping you build your influence with online video and YouTube, and we do that by sharing the best tips and tools on how to do so. And so if you're interested in that, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Now, when it comes to deciding on which camera you want to buy, it really comes down to what kind of videos you're gonna be using these cameras for, whether it be vlogging, talking head video, live streams, video podcasts. And so all of these cameras, based off of their different features, are gonna be best for different use case scenarios. And so let's start with vlogging. Which is the best camera for vlogging out of the three? I would definitely have to say that is going to be the Nikon Z30. Now, the first reason I say that is, number one, the stabilization technology in the Nikon Z30 beats the other two by a landslide. There is no major crop when you turn on extra stabilization. And if you're doing handheld footage, it's gonna look fairly smooth, which is what people want. You don't necessarily wanna find yourself vlogging with the Sony ZV-E10 because it's very shaky if you don't have any stabilization turned on. But if you do turn on active steady shot, there's gonna be a huge crop and it's gonna look very warpy. The Canon R10, on the other hand, is a decent vlog camera. However, the kit lens that comes with it starts at 18 millimeters, which when you turn on stabilization one level, it's gonna crop in a little bit, so it's not gonna give you a wide enough shot. The Nikon Z30 comes ready to go for vlogging, and it's gonna give you the perfect look that you're going for when it comes to vlogging. Just get an external mic if you want good audio, but when it comes to vlogging, the Nikon Z30 takes the cake. So this is an example of a vlog shot from the Nikon, just set to auto, but I wanted to take a moment and talk about the sponsor of this video, and that is Movo. Movo is an incredible company that provides solutions for content creators, whether you're using your smartphone or a camera. And specifically, I'm using the Movo Double Mic, which is an incredible microphone for talking head videos, but even more so for vlogging because it has two sides. And so when I turn the mic this way to show Kyle off,
that it's actually picking up my sound nice and good because the mic is facing my mouth, which is awesome. And so just for 50 bucks, you get everything you need. And it's really one of the only mic solutions you need to invest in if this is what you're going to be doing with the camera you purchase. So be sure to check out the links down in the description below. Thank you, Movo, for sponsoring this video.
The next use case that you'll probably get one of these cameras for is YouTube talking head videos. And if I had to pick one for that, I would actually go with this Sony ZV-E10. I've actually been using this camera as my talking head camera set up in my office. And honestly, with this camera on a tripod or when this camera isn't moving, I think it definitely produces one of the best images out of the three. And many times when people are setting up their YouTube studio for talking head videos, they are able to assess their space or their room and then get a lens based on the look you're trying to go for. And the Sony ZV-E10 just has the best lens selection out of the three cameras. It's just nice to know that you can grow with this camera as a YouTube talking head camera when plopping it on a tripod. Live streaming or video conference calls is another reason why you would put these cameras on a tripod or have them in a stationary position. And I would say right off the bat, all three of these cameras are great for that use case because I mentioned they all have a clean HDMI. So you just need a simple capture card, an HDMI cable, and even potentially a continuous power adapter so you never run out of battery and you'll be ready to go. But what's cool about the Sony ZV-E10 is that it has that USB streaming feature, which just makes it so easy to live stream with or use on Zoom calls and things like that. And it also charges the camera or powers the camera when you're using this feature. Another style of content that you may be considering these cameras for are what is called video podcasting, where you are filming a podcast and not just getting the audio, but now getting the video of your podcast. And I think it's important to note that all three of these cameras have no record limit, and typically podcasts are a longer form type video. And so if you have enough battery and enough card, you can record as much as necessary. And I know I mentioned just moments ago that you can get a continuous power adapter. However, it is important to note that I have found the ZV-E10 and the Nikon Z30, in my experience, have a tendency to overheat in a fairly typical warm environment. If I were to rank these cameras from worst to best when it comes to temperature performance, I would say the worst being the Nikon Z30. And then for the Sony, I would say it's the second tier, as there's been multiple times where I've been filming indoors and I would see that indicator as well on the screen. It never fully shut off on me, but I don't typically keep filming when I see that indicator turn on, right? And so I would say the Canon would do the best when it comes to temperature, but obviously if you're shooting in a fairly cooled environment like indoors, you should be okay. Now there are a couple ways that you can minimize cameras overheating when it comes to using them for long periods of time. And the first one being is if they are articulating screens, just get the screen away from the camera. Secondly, you can invest into a metal cage for one of the cameras because it'll distribute the heat a little more evenly as opposed to keeping it all in one place. And then the third way is specifically for video podcasting, because you're probably gonna buy more than one of these cameras, is if you actually use the HDMI feed to capture to like a Blackmagic ATEM switcher. And in that case, the camera's not recording video, it's just sending out a video feed from the HDMI, and therefore the camera's not gonna work as hard. And in that case, I would take the camera that would have the best lens selection as well as the best autofocus. Canon R10, you can tap into their full frame line of lenses. And so if you plan on putting this in a studio and there's gonna be a little bit of space, you could go with the Canon R10, but still Sony ZV-10 has the best lens selection out of the three cameras. So that essentially covers most of the kinds of videos that people will be creating when investing into one of these cameras. Now, which one is the best camera for beginners? I think it's just ultimately hard to decide, and I hate to be the guy that at the end of the video, it's like, dude, just give me an option. Well, I would say as far as the best easiest camera for beginners to use, the Canon R10 actually wins because Canon has great beginner modes, so you can just get this camera and follow along very easily. I think the best camera to grow with, I absolutely love the Sony ZV-E10 because of the amount of lens options you have. I love the image that this produces. However, I could not use this camera to vlog with. And I know a lot of people are gonna buy one of these cameras and take it out to travel and take it on family trips. And so if you're in the market and you're gonna be moving with the camera, go for the Nikon Z30. And so all that being said, all three great cameras for beginners. I hope you got value in this video. If you want to check out a video going in depth with one of these cameras, then you can click or tap the screen. And I can't wait to see you in another video. Peace.